Did you ever read an article, watch a video, and feel like the company that produced it just got you, right? It resonated well with you. So if so, let me ask you a question. How do you talk to your leads in your marketing campaigns? Do you try to understand the emotional state they are in while they're viewing your campaigns? If not, you should. So today's episode, we're going to chat about emotional intelligence, which is what this is, and how you can make your marketing messages, one, stand out, and two, be memorable, which is what we're all looking for.
Inkyma's Marketing Strategies is a podcast for small business owners hosted by Audrey Kirchner, co-founder and chief marketing strategist at Inkyma, helping you navigate the world of marketing so that you can market your business in the right way, see growth, and thrive regardless of the industry you're in. To learn more about Inkyma and what we do, ask a question, or schedule a marketing evaluation, go to the website inkyma.com. That's INKYMA.com. Listen to the show on your podcast player of choice, the Inkyma website, or the Inkyma YouTube channel. Just search for Inkyma Marketing Strategies and you'll find what you need.
So before we get into today's topic, let's just have a little housekeeping discussion. So I'm going to reference other podcast episodes, sometimes articles, product recommendations, book recommendations. When I do that, all of that is going to be in the show notes. So go to inkyma.com and click on the podcast episode and the show notes are right there. Plus we do a rough transcript of the episode so that after you're listening, if you're just trying to find something specific from the episode, it'll be easy peasy for you to do. And just another disclaimer is that we partner with many of the products that we recommend in any and all of our episodes. And so we create affiliate links for you. And when you click through, we get a very small percentage back, usually the equivalent of a cup of coffee. But I wanted to make sure that you know that. We do this one because whatever we recommend to you, we either use, believe in, read, consume ourselves. And we want to keep this content free. So that little bit of extra you give helps us keep creating all this wonderful content for you. So if you're going to buy, go to the show notes and click on our link. We appreciate it very, very much. All right, so let's talk about emotional intelligence. So before we do that, because it's really become a buzzword, you hear people in sales and leadership all the time saying, oh, you have to have emotional intelligence. But what is it? So there's a lot of different definitions and ways that people explain it, but here's the one that I found that I really like the most. And part one of it is recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions. You got to know, oh, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that in a given situation. Part two, which is a big and, is you got to recognize, understand, and then guide the emotions of others as part of that discussion. That's what true emotional intelligence is knowing what you're feeling and knowing what they're feeling, and then figuring out how you can guide those emotions, almost like you can guide a conversation. And there's a psychological principle behind this. It's called mirroring. So if we're having a conversation with someone and you come across positive and upbeat and just generally cool to be around, the other person's going to want to mirror that, even if they didn't come into the conversation mirroring that, because those are the emotions, I like to call them the emotions we aspire to, right? Being positive, people like, they know, they trust. And then versus the other way, right? If you're not emotionally intelligent and someone's coming to you in a bad mood, you may very well reflect that. But if you are emotionally intelligent and you come in with a positive attitude and they're in a bad mood, chances are you're going to sway and change their emotion just by how you act. So it's not that you're forcing them to do anything. It's what you're projecting first. And what's so interesting is that literally right before I recorded this, I was on a conference call with a client and their partners. Partner one's sitting there and he's very stoic and matter of fact, and the other partner comes on and he's in a great mood and he's smiling and everything. And I'm watching the first partner and his whole demeanor changed right before my eyes. He relaxed, he smiled. The conversation got a lot lighter between the three of us. And it was just because the second guy came in and was just like, yeah, don't care that you're in a bad mood. I'm in a great mood. I'm here now. Let's do this. So it was really cool to watch that given what I knew I was going to be recording today. So I couldn't wait to share that with you guys. Okay, so let's talk about situations where emotional intelligence, right? This knowing your emotions, knowing their emotions and guiding them can help all of us in business, giving and receiving feedback, whether it's to employees, to clients, to vendors, makes that a little easier. Meeting tight deadlines, right? It's much easier to meet a tight deadline if everybody is even keel on the same page or even positive about the situation. Dealing with challenges in relationships, personal, professional, all of them. Not having enough resources, right? Those are usually points of contentions. Navigating change. If COVID has taught us nothing, it's taught us that we need to figure out how to navigate change, and then working through setbacks and failures. And then as entrepreneurs, we have setbacks, we have failures. What we do with them is really important, but how the other people around us look at those too. And then the last one is lead generation, which is what we're going to focus on today because that's what marketing is, right? It's awareness, it's getting people to buy your products and services. So we're going to focus on lead generation today. And so a lot of the information that is out there about emotional intelligence, it's really about leadership for employees, for you, for yourself, for sales, but not a lot of it talks about using emotional intelligence with marketing campaigns, with the videos you're creating, with the images you're using, with the language and messaging that you're creating. And so that's why I want to deep dive into that. But if you want to understand more about emotional intelligence itself as a topic, understanding it deeper, there is a link in the show notes to a book that I have used and multiple different revisions over the last 10 or 15 years. So this is not a new topic, but it's kind of new to the marketing world. So definitely go and get a copy of that book. You won't regret it. It's a really good book. Short read too. So the first thing I want to make sure you understand in this whole entire topic, when we're talking about this, is that all buying decisions are emotional first. We make the emotional decision to buy, whatever that emotion is that we're having at that time. And then as a buyer, us, me, you, everybody, we use logic and reason and other things to justify that purchase. So you could be the Mr. Spock, very level-headed, but there's still a level of emotion involved when you're going through the purchasing process. It's just how we're built. So knowing that, right? Knowing that emotion is like the number one thing involved in any purchase that anybody makes should make you go, how do I tap into that to get people to see my message, to understand it, to at least give it more than 2 seconds. And this is why you want to incorporate emotional intelligence in your marketing campaigns and the messaging that you're using. And you want to do it based off the emotional state they are in when they're researching and buying for what you provide. So that's really the crux of it. This is really good news for all you business owners and entrepreneurs out there that really don't like marketing, right? Or feeling salesy or feel like it's not ethical, because this is the most ethical way to market. You're not pushing something on someone they don't want. You're not trying to get over on them. You're not doing a weird salesy pitch thing. All you're doing with an approach like this is coming from a place of wanting to help and serve where they are at in that moment in time. So let's dive into what that looks like. So the very first thing you need to do, and I've talked about this in quite a few other podcast episodes and articles, is you gotta know your target audience. You have to know who you're talking to. There is an episode that I did. It is episode 38, Strong Brand Identity, Part 2, How to Talk to Your Customers for Better Engagement. In there, I walk you through the process of creating that customer persona for your target audience or audiences, more than one. You can definitely have more than one, but you want to know who they are. So in that customer persona, make sure you include the emotional state that they're in, that you think they're in, when they're researching and getting ready to buy. So it's called the research and buying phase of the purchasing journey, right? Whatever emotional state that they're in at that point, that's what you want to talk to. You want to acknowledge it. You want to empathize with it. And then you want to talk to them about how your product or service can help them move from whatever that state is to what I will generally call a more satisfied state. Because if they're looking to purchase something, they are unsatisfied. Once they have purchased it, and if they did a good job and it's the right thing, they are satisfied. Now, those emotions are going to run the gamut. They're going to be sort of glad, sort of excited. They're going to be scared. They're going to be anxious. They're going to be stressed. They're going to be mad. They're going to be all those things. But really what it boils down to is they are unsatisfied. So they're researching and buying something so that they can become satisfied. And so that's really what you have to think about as the first step. And then the second thing is that aside from that unsatisfied to satisfied, what the emotion is and where you're going to put them, it's very, very specific to the industry that you're in, and even down to the region of the country that you're in. Because every region, city, state, area, they react differently. Some are more, oh yeah, that's okay. They're more laid back. Other areas are much more anxiety and stress level high, or they react angry to just about everything, including someone standing too close to them type of thing. Not good, not bad, just that's what it is. So when you're listening to this and you're looking into doing this more, realize that you got to look at your industry, what trends for you and what you're doing, and then where you live, because it's going to be very, very different. You could be a carpenter on the East Coast and your clientele's emotional intelligence and how they react to things is going to be very different than someone in Texas or California. So don't try to find like a catch-all. Okay, so this is really high level. This is very conceptual. So I want to walk you through quite a few examples to give you an idea of how this is going to work or how it does work, so that hopefully it clarifies it more. So the first industry I want to hit is life insurance. That's a really interesting one. Nobody loves buying life insurance. No one goes out into the world and go, I want to buy life insurance today like they do a cup of coffee, right? Two totally different industries. So I'm going to give you two different examples within life insurance, because actually the emotional state of the person in the buying process is different depending on why they're buying. So let's say we've got couple A, right? They just had a baby and they're building their family and they want to make sure they can provide if something happens to them in the case of life insurance. So they really are happy. They're optimistic. They're not happy and optimistic about buying life insurance, but they're happy and optimistic about why they're buying the life insurance, right? So they're going to be in that kind of a mental state when they come across your marketing materials. Now, let's say person B, right? They're looking for life insurance. They're doing research, but it's because they recently lost a friend or loved one to an illness. So they're sad, they're worried, they're anxious, and they're scared, because when stuff like that happens to us, we immediately put ourselves in that shoes. And maybe the person that they lost didn't have life insurance. Maybe their family had to set up a GoFundMe to pull together the money to pay for the funeral, or they were just bogged down in medical bills, whatever the case, a very different experience. So in these two examples, if you're a life insurance agency, if that person walks through your door, you're going to greet them and talk to them completely different. That's in-person emotional intelligence. If you're going to be running marketing campaigns, you're going to want to run two different type of campaigns out to attract those different people. Because if you try to create one campaign that talks to both of them, neither of them is going to respond, because they're going to feel like, oh, that's not for me. So if you're running digital ads, you're going to run two sets. If you're sending out emails to an email list, those are going to be different. And the emotional intelligence language that you're going to be using in these are going to be completely different. All right, so let's go to a lighter type of topic, right? Shoes. I always like using shoes as an example, because it's a really great way where there's a functional need, then there's the style need, and then there's just the whole I love shoes need. But you can still have different emotions within this set. So person A, they're celebrating a milestone and they wanted to buy these pair of shoes as their reward for that milestone. So in that instance, when they're going to buy and where they're going to buy from, they're happy and they're excited. They're anticipating like, yeah, I just did this and this is my reward. Versus person B, right? They got to buy new work shoes because their dog just chewed through their shoes right after they got home. They're not going to be in the same state as person A, right? This second person's going to be stressed, frustrated, mad, because their work shoes are really expensive, or it's just very inconvenient. They have to go out and get shoes, and maybe they can't order them because they need them for the next day. So they're in a very different mental state. Both people are buying shoes, but they're buying them for very different reasons. And if you're going to be running any type of marketing campaigns to people, you've got to know who you're talking to and the emotional state they're in when they're going to start buying. All right, now I want to look at my friends over in the real estate industry, the realtors. They have people buying and they have people selling homes. And you'll see why I picked this one in a minute, because it's really interesting. So buying a home in a new place that a company relocated them to, right, is a family. They could be scared. One spouse, if it's a couple and a family, or the kids, some of them could be mad, which creates a stressful situation. And there could be some kind of joy in that. Like maybe they're going someplace that they've never been to before, but there's a mixed set of emotions and you're not dealing with just one person's in this whole thing. Second scenario is selling a home and they're empty nesters, right? They're a little scared. This is a life transition. They could be excited about where they're going to. They could be a little sad because it's their family home, but it's the right thing to do. But they're going to be a little scared. And then I picked a third scenario for this one. First-time homebuyers, brand new couple, going out on their own. They're really happy. They're really excited, but they're also a little scared. So through all three of these, do you see a theme, right? Buying or selling a home, huge transaction. For most of us, it's the biggest one of our lives. Doesn't matter if it's your first, second, or third, it's still always going to be the biggest. So we're always going to be a little scared and we're always going to be a little anxious. So regardless of the secondary emotion involved in that, whether it's mad, happiness, anxiousness, there's always a little fear in there. And so as a real estate agent, one, you're going to allay the fear, empathize with it. And then two, talk to the secondary one as well. And so the last example, I'm going to go to my trades friends and we're going to talk about a plumber, right? Master plumber, two different scenarios here. Person A, they've got an unexpected repair. A pipe burst in their home. So obviously they're going to be mad, they're going to be scared, they're going to be worried, and they need a plumber really, really fast. We could have standing order, they could not be able to take a shower. Not a great situation. And then scenario B is they're renovating their master bathroom. So they're getting all beautiful new fixtures and shower heads and all that other good stuff. Maybe some plumbing has to be moved, but it's planned. So in this, they're excited, they're happy, they can't wait for the end results. Two totally different conversations. And again, two different campaigns, right? You can campaign to the unexpected person first, because if they're doing Google searching for emergency plumbing, you can have ads out there for that versus the second one where you can show beautiful pictures of sinks and faucets and allow them to dream a little bit while they're actually interviewing plumbers as part of their program. So hopefully that clarifies this a little bit more for you and relate it to your industry. So now that you understand emotional intelligence and marketing a little better, let's put this new knowledge that you just got to work for you and let's take some action steps. So the first step that you want to take is figuring out the emotional state. And if you are not sure about the emotional state, the simplest thing to do is ask, right? Talk to your best customers and ask them how they were feeling when they chose your business to work with. It might be a little bit of a conversation. How were you feeling? What was the situation you were in? You may already know because when they first contacted you, they may have told you the whole entire story. So it may just be you recalling this story and you'll know how they were feeling based on the conversation. So in the scenarios above and maybe those conversations you're having, you might get different multiple emotional states. Because you're probably just starting out with this, the one I suggest you start with is the most upbeat state first, right? So obviously they're all unsatisfied, trying to get dissatisfied, but in some of these scenarios, people were happy and excited. Those are the ones you want to start with first. The happy, the excited, the glad. It is far easier to sell to people that are already in that happy, excited, glad phase than trying to get them from scared, mad, anxious to I'm okay, I'm ready to purchase, because we've got to be in some state of balance or at least resignation to make a final purchase. There's language out there that says you've got to be in a good state. You got to be happy with the purchase you're making. But obviously, in some of these instances, you're never going to be happy, right? The dog ate your shoes, you're never going to be happy. You're going to resign yourself to having to buy a new pair of shoes and you're going to make it the best of the situation. You're making lemonade out of lemons. Same thing with the pipes being burst. Start there. It's a much simpler process to get people that are closer to happy and excited to that full satisfied than it is those that are like all the way on the other end of the spectrum. You can get there at some point, but start with the easier group first. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to create your core language by creating a brand script. Again, go listen to episode 38. I talk about the customer persona, creating a brand script. Brand script comes from Donald Miller's story brand. It is a way to help you understand and define the customer. And we pulled a lot of bits and pieces from that in how we create customer personas and the brand script. But what a brand script is, it's high-level language of how you talk to your customer, allowing them to be the center of attention and you being the person that guides them through the situation. There's a link in the show notes for the book. I highly recommend it. It's a pretty easy read, very entertaining. He's got a lot of different examples in the book of people he's worked with. And he also gives you step-by-step instructions on how to get yourself through that brand script. And then you can add to that the emotion piece that we're talking about here today. And so with that brand script, plus with knowing the emotional state, is going to make it really easy for you to create the messaging for all of your marketing assets. And that's going to be your next step. Look at your website. Are you using an emotionally intelligent statement to drive people? Your subject lines for your email, your digital ad copy. Look at your images. Look at your videos. Are they balanced correctly for the emotional state that the buyer is in or where you want them to be? Look at it from that perspective. Will that picture, image, or video really resonate with the state that they're in when they're doing their research, right? Those are the type of things that you need to update and look at. And again, that brand script is going to make it far easier. The customer persona is going to make it far easier to create that because you're going to know how you want to talk to them by this point. So here are my final thoughts for you on this topic, right? This is advanced level stuff. It's not easy to create. It's a little different than just saying, hey, buy my stuff. This is really good stuff. It's a little different. You're tapping into the psychology of it a little bit. So you may not like that. Like it from you want it to be done, but you don't want to do it and you don't like doing marketing, then you need to delegate this, right? And this may be where you want to hire an agency to do this scripting work for you, creating your messages, all that good stuff. Just make sure you hire an agency that already believes in marketing this way. Not all agencies out there do this. We do it here at Inkyma. It is the core of what we do. We don't market any other way. We tap into those emotions, and all the really big, good agencies do that. So when you're interviewing agencies, talk to them about emotional intelligence. When you're interviewing them, find out their customer persona process. Do they create any type of core language? They may not call it a brand script. They may call it something else, but just make sure it's part of their foundation, because just simply asking them to do it, if they're not good at it, they're going to be no better at it than you or someone on your team who's never done it before. So here at Inkyma, we like to give back to the business community. We provide a 45-minute free consultation via video conferencing where you can ask us anything about marketing. You can give us a scenario. We can give you the idea of the emotional state that the person's probably in. We can talk about your website, whatever you need. If you've just got a quick question, or what we love is recommendations for shows. What do you want to hear about? You can put that in the contact form on the website at inkyma.com. inkyma.com. We also have a free educational blog called Marketing Masterminds, where we write articles, we have video tutorials and trainings that you can go so that you can do your marketing yourself, because maybe you're not ready for an agency just yet. So I hope you found the information in today's podcast useful and helpful for you. If you think it could help your fellow entrepreneur friends in your networking groups that you talk to over coffee, please share this, right? The goal of this podcast and all the free content that we produce is to help the business community grow and thrive throughout the entire country. Thank you for listening and have an amazing